So everybody that's listening to us on the radio stations around the country, we hope you're Magic fans, but we thank you for listening regardless to my program. And if you're listening to us on the podcasting sites, thanks so much. I met this guy a couple years ago, and I cannot put down the YouTube video when he's on it. If you go to OrlandoMagicDaily.com, you can see everything about him. Philip Rossman Reich, Locked On Magic, my favorite show. Watch it every day. Learn all inside information about the Orlando Magic, trades, roster, moves, also what's going on in the season, what goes on from every game. He's doing every game. And the Magic were just on a West Coast road trip, still one game left against Utah. This guy's been staying up every night, working the YouTube and doing all these talks about what happened in the game before. As far as that goes, Phil, thanks so much for always coming on and being a great Magic fan. And as a Magic fan, one to another, go Magic. Let's start this show.
Yeah, let's do it. It's an exciting time. I know people are a little down right now after couple losses in Los Angeles, but it's still really exciting time and a really exciting team.
Well, I want to talk about quickly the Los Angeles games, but I do want to get into the off-season moves and everything else in the kitchen sink. You know, the Magic really should have won that Laker game. That was a tough loss. They did play pretty well as far as that game. Now, listen, they played good defense against the Clippers as far as that game was. I mean, the scoring, did not show it as far as a 15-point blowout with that. But, we still have a young team. People need to relax and, cool down a little bit. It's 2-2. It's 4 games. Take it easy. Just run through these 2 games so far, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
sorry.
Yeah, the first 4 games. I mean, on a kind of granular level, the Magic are on schedule. They took care of business. They beat the Houston Rockets at home. They beat the Portland Trailblazers. Those are 2 teams that are probably not competing for a playoff spot this year.
Right.
So they took care of their business. And, we talked a lot this training camp, this preseason, about how the Magic are trying to be a more mature team, how they're trying to just kind of take another level up in their preparation and their seriousness of the game. Beating these kinds of teams are really important. And they did them despite having some struggle, having to kind of fight and grind their way through it. They found a way to win. We always knew we were going to learn a lot about this team in the 2 games against Los Angeles. The Lakers and Clippers are, maybe not elite teams, but they're 2 teams that believe that if everything breaks right, if they develop right, if their stars play the way their stars play, if they're healthy, they can win a championship. And the Magic largely, I don't say completely, but largely stood toe to toe with them. To me, I said this on my show, winning those 2 games wasn't super. I mean, it was important. Winning's good, but it wasn't so much that we see them win those games. It's more about what we learn about this team. How are they going to respond against quality opponents? And look, they still have a little bit to measure up to. LeBron had a really strong finish to the game in Los Angeles. Orlando's offense kind of went in the tank. And that was kind of the big theme out of those 2 games was the Magic's offense. It's got a lot of rough edges that it needs to figure out. And teams are sitting on some things that the Magic are having a tough time breaking down. But the defense came out legit. I know they gave up a 41-point quarter. I know they gave up 118 points to the Clippers. They only gave up 112 points per 100 possessions. The Clippers' offensive rating in that game was 112-1 or 112-5 or something like that. That's going to end up being a very good number this year. The Magic defense is legit. And if that's all we learned from those 2 games, that's a place to start because we're still 4 games into this season. The Magic lost games that they were underdogs in anyway. They still have a chance to go 500 on this road trip, come back home to the Amway Center 3-2. And we know that they will play better at home in the Amway Center, as you expect all young teams to do. So the Magic have some work to do. There's always work to do, but they showed some really good things in the process.
I want to talk about the offseason acquisitions by the Magic. We'll get into the free agency that happened this past summer. Also, obviously, the drafting of Anthony Black, Jet Howard, Juwan Howard's son, obviously played with the Magic back in the Tracy McGrady days. If you can kind of tell the audience that maybe wasn't following the Magic closely in the summer, is just getting back into the thick of things right now, of what you thought, maybe even a grade if you want, of what happened in the off season.
Yeah, Orlando was quiet this offseason.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. They only added 3 players to the team: Anthony Black and Jet Howard, the 2 draft picks, as well as Joe Ingles. And out of those 3, only Joe Ingles is in the rotation. So the Magic really opted to say, we believe we had a really strong finish to last season. We believe our team was better than its record. They're all young. Let's give them another year to develop. Let's keep them all together. They all understand where they need to be. They played with each other before. That's going to help us have an advantage and help us play better. And that was the philosophy of the team. I think to some regards, this was a good decision. And in some regards, it wasn't. There are clear flaws on this team, and those flaws were largely unaddressed. And it's not to say that the Magic should just be making moves to make moves. Maybe those deals and those opportunities didn't present themselves. I don't think they need to do anything crazy. They needed to do things that would allow Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to be the best version of themselves. And that is, I think, still a mystery. Paolo and Franz, through 4 games, very small sample size, have struggled a little bit out of the gates. And I think some of that is them maybe either trying to do too much, that some of that is the Magic's lack of shooting is just abundantly clear. Adding Joe Ingles and Jet Howard should help with the shooting, but Joe Ingles has been a little hesitant to shoot. They put Jalen Suggs in the starting lineup. There are some clear needs and clear things that the Magic needed to address that they punted for a year. Mm-hmm. And so now we're seeing, certainly in the game against the Lakers and Clippers, we saw that kind of come to roost. Orlando stayed in the game against the Lakers because of their shooting, so I don't want to completely throw that under the bus. But they really struggled against the Clippers, making only 7 of 33s. They're shooting, I think, like 30%, almost flat on 3-pointers to start the season. This team was never expected to be a great shooting or great offensive team, but it's clearly something that's holding them back. And so it's going to have to be a need that they address. I gave the Magic overall like a B for the summer. I understand what they're trying to do. I didn't expect anything major, but it still felt like not that they needed to mix things up, but they needed to address some major needs that they haven't been able to.
But do you think that Jed Howard and Anthony Black were the right decision by the Magic front office?
Yes and no. I think Jed Howard was a really good pick, or maybe not a really good pick, but was a solid pick at 11. My goal on draft night was the Magic needed to come out of draft night with a shooter, whether that was by trade or by draft pick. They needed a shooter. So they got Jed Howard. He was not the guy that many people would have picked in that spot. A lot of people favored Grady Dick from Kansas, who's now with the Toronto Raptors. But I understand why they like Jet over Grady Dick. Jet is a little bit more athletic, a little bigger, not the height wise, but like wingspan wise and size wise. And he could be a little bit better off the dribble and a little bit better as a playmaker. Having said that, he's not in the rotation right now. So it would have been tough for any rookie to break into this like very established rotation. So it's hard to say that, is that the right pick? I don't know. I kind of, Anthony Black is a guy that fits the Magic to a T. He's a 6'7" point guard, really smart defensive player, not a great jumper. And that's going to keep him off the floor a little bit, especially right now in the early stage of the season, because the Magic desperately needs some guys who could shoot and you're going to be aggressive looking to score. So did the Magic win the draft? No. I think I gave them a B- on draft night. I'd probably put them in that B- C+ range because these are 2 rookies that aren't going to break into the rotation. They're going to need a little bit of time, and Anthony Black certainly is going to need a little bit of time. And so it feels a little bit like a missed opportunity, but by the same token, I don't know who else they would have picked at those spots that wouldn't have had fans up in arms. I've seen some fans say, maybe the Magic should have drafted UCF forward Taylor Hendricks. And it's just like, well, hey, right now he's hurt. He's not really even playing for the Jazz. And while that's a cleaner roster fit, I think Anthony Black has a higher ceiling and more potential. And so the Magic were in a really tough spot where they're trying to balance a team that's still very, very young and developing and growing, but also a team that does now have playoff aspirations and might need guys who can slot in and play roles. And, right now I've told a lot of people this somewhat controversially. I think Jed Howard will have a more productive and better rookie year than Anthony Black because Jed Howard fits a need for this team when the Magic eventually do call on him, because everyone's going to be called on at some point this season. That's just tough right now to say, okay, did this draft work? It's probably not something we're going to learn after their rookie years.
Philip Rossman Reich here on Fire Breathing Rob. Again, it is the OrlandoMagicDaily.com and also Locked On Magic, which you should be watching every day if you're a Magic fan. As far as that goes, check it out on YouTube daily. There's always a new show every day of the week, 365 a year. This man is a
Not
legend.
365. I do take days off.
All right, well, close to 365.
Close.
Come on, give me a
guaranteed,
break.
guaranteed Monday through Friday.
Okay, fair enough. Anyways, let's kick this
I don't want to
around.
be making promises I can't keep here.
No, I respect that. I respect that. Let's talk about Jonathan Isaac. We talked about him last time you were on the program here. I'm a huge Jonathan Isaac fan. I believe this is the year. It's a make or break year for Jonathan Isaac to show up. He's seen some glimmers of hope last year, but even this year, playing some decent defense as far as that goes, as the shot blocks and rebounding goes, but still playing low minutes. Are they just trying to start him out slow, you think, Phil? Or what's going on? Because this is a guy that was very highly thought of when he came into the NBA before all the injury issues.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still trying to manage him a little bit. Let's put this in perspective here. He has played 11 games since January 2nd, 2020.
Yeah.
That's like it's been a long time since he's played NBA basketball consistently. And obviously last year was on a little bit of a minute restriction. This year he's playing behind the Magic's two probably primary players in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And so they're, carving out a very specific role for him and managing him and just making sure he's okay. And so I think for at least this first month, maybe first quarter of the season, the Magic are going to be very careful with Jonathan Isaac. He sat out Tuesday's game, a back-to-back against the LA Clippers, just for rest. They didn't want to push him too hard. He could clearly make a big impact defensively. We're seeing that in every game that he plays. His defensive instincts did not go away, but you could also tell like he still needs to get his legs under him. Like he's, yes, he's been working, yes, he's been playing, yes, he's been doing all these things, but he's still getting used to the rhythm of an NBA season. And you forget about this. NBA seasons are tough. You're traveling a lot. You're playing every other day, essentially. It's not easy. This is a grueling and difficult league. And so the Magic are being very careful because Isaac has not gone through that and they don't want another setback. He has had enough setbacks in his career. They're willing to sacrifice a game here or there to make sure that he is comfortable and physically ready so that he'll be there when it matters in March and April, when they really might need him, or if they might need to up his minutes a little bit because of an injury down the road. We'll see. Obviously Isaac's got a long way to go. I don't think you can hold him to the high standards of before his injury because he's just been out for so long, but he can clearly still make an impact and make plays for this team.
I want to talk about Mo Wagner. Last time we had you on, you're a Mo Wagner guy. I am too. The guy rebounds. He plays with heart and hustle. When I think of a guy, and I think you brought this up in your podcast about the Darrell Armstrong player. And I think you brought up Jalen Suggs, if I'm being correct with that. I think of, and I know it's a totally different position, but I think of Mo Wagner as the Darrell Armstrong player too. Hot and hustle. I think of Mo for sure, 100%. A guy diving on the floor. We saw that a lot last year. Getting rebounds. Really, I know he's a turnover
machine.
Led
the team in charges last year.
Yeah, he does.
He had more charges last year than blocks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, right, correct. And I know he turns the ball over a little bit, and he can be a problem with that. And he does have some problems underneath at times. But the guy is really a hot and hustle guy. Bringing him back this year, I thought was a very, very smart decision. Obviously, still playing with his brother. You're keeping that chemistry. Those guys are together like peanut butter and jelly. I thought that was a big move to bring him back. Do you agree with that also?
Yeah, I think it was too. Mo has been on the outskirts of this league. Like he has been a guy who's had to fight for his place in the league, and you could tell that every time he's on the court. The guy understands his role, and I think that's like the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing you got to get any player in this league to do is understand. Okay, when I am on the floor, my job is this, and this is what I have to do to stay on the floor and contribute to my team. And Mo has a really good understanding of that. He knows he's not out there to block shots. He's there to take charges. He's there to be in a good spot, be a big body. He's there to set screens. He's there to make others look good. and roll to the basket hard, sometimes take a three when they're open. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and he does it really, really well. And that, he's not the best player in the world. Like, everyone understands that. There's still rim protection issues with him that leave something to be desired. But although he has 2 blocks already this year, I think he had 12 total last year. He's got 2 already this year. He understands what he's good at, and he does that really, really well, and doesn't do anything more, and doesn't try to do anything more. Yeah, he turns the ball over a little bit too much. Sometimes that's on a moving screen, or trying to do the right thing defensively. They're usually aggressive turnovers. They're not like mistake turnover. They're not, moving screens a little bit of a mistake turnover, but they're not necessarily bad turnovers. He knows his role and does it well, and doesn't do anything else. And that's really all you can ask for from a guy in his position. And his energy, he gives the team a little bit of an edge because he talks a little bit. His energy gets to everyone else on the team, and you just love those guys.
We had a good game last night. I think he played probably the best out of anybody on the Magic last night against the Clippers, having, 13, 14 points last night against the Clippers. And he played pretty hard, got some rebounds, got some blocks. He was in there kicking some butt last night. So I think that was a good signing. I want to go to the Cole Anthony. Magic just gave him that re-sign. I like Cole Anthony. I think he plays with a lot of heart and hustle also. I think most of the young guys that the Magic have, and we are lucky as fans to really appreciate that these young guys do go out there and play every night with heart and hustle. They don't dog it like a lot of these veterans guys on different teams. They're always on the floor, diving for balls and playing hard in general. The Cole Anthony re-sign, I believe that was needed. I think he's a guy coming off the bench, even starting sometimes, that is a huge asset on the defensive side, but even also on the offensive side, he's getting better.
Yeah. And look, Cole's the kind of guy that, you have to keep around. Like, a young player who's played well, you typically do not let guys like him go in free agency unless their price tag is too high. And he's a reported 3-year, $39 million contract. A lot of us thought he was going to get at least 15 million, that if it was going to be 3 years, it'd be 3 years, 45 million. So it feels like the Magic got a little bit of a bargain on him with his scoring ability, just his ability to change the games off the bench. He's had a really nice start to the season. He's playing with supreme confidence, and he's a lot better. Like you said, he's a lot better defensively than people give him credit for. He's not going to be a stopper, but he's going to be pesky, and he's going to be in the right spots more often than not. And he's going to try. And that's really all you can ask for, even if there's some shortcomings he has to overcome. He's one of the best 6 men in the league, in my opinion. Like, I think he should be a candidate for 6th man of the year. He's going to anchor that starting group. Or that bench group. He's going to give them a really nice scoring punch. And he's a shooter. And on a Magic team without a lot of shooters, you need guys like him. And a big point I always make to people is like, well, when the Magic do eventually go for their star and push some chips in the middle, you're going to need the salary slots. You're going to need some of these big salaries you can move around. Like, Jonathan Isaac's a $17 million salary. I hate reducing players to their cap figure and using and thinking of them as assets, but that's the reality of the business. Yeah. Cole Anthony's salary is going to be one the Magic can move around if they need to, but he'll also give you good value for that number as well. And so the Magic have to be very, very happy with keeping Cole Anthony and the job he's done so far.
Well, he's also very good in the community, does a lot at UCF now. I think the Magic like guys like that. I remember Bo Outlaw, obviously a Nick Anderson, still doing a lot of stuff for the Magic also. The Magic like those community guys that, do play with the heart and hustle and play with fight every day. Last question, as far as the audience question goes, then I want to get into a couple questions before we end this here. Jalen Suggs, obviously moving to the starting lineup. Big move there. I think this is Jalen's year to really put up or shut up. He's done very good so far as the year progresses on. What's your take on Jalen Suggs moving to the starting lineup?
Yeah, it's been revelatory in a lot of ways. That what he's brought to this team. We're still super early in the season, so
sure.
A buddy of mine said, he doesn't like looking at stats before the 10-game mark of the season, but Orlando's second in the league in defensive rating. And that's something that's been consistent. Like they had a bad defensive game against the Clippers. And even by the numbers, it was still a decent defensive game. Like it wasn't so terrible. They had a bad quarter, but they were fine the rest of the game. This is a really good defense. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Jalen Suggs. I think the Magic putting Jalen Suggs in the starting lineup was really a statement of, we want to set the tone every game from the very start, that we're going to get after you defensively, because that is what Jalen Suggs does. He is a chaos agent. He is someone that is going to force turnovers, force deflections, just be, whoever he's guarding is just going to be miserable. And even if he's in help side around you, he's going to make you miserable, because he's going to put pressure and just get after it. And the guy seems to have like endless energy on the defensive end. If he can hit his shots consistently, the Magic are going to be a really dangerous team with the starting lineup. And obviously that is a big if for Orlando, unfortunately, but that's kind of the gamble they're making.
Well, I know Rob Hennigan's not with the team, and I know he really screwed the team up, in my opinion. I don't know if you feel the same way, but this is what Rob Hennigan back in the day was supposed to be doing for the Magic, was to bring in oil, and what she did, bring in a lot of young players, but they did not produce. I don't want to relive ancient history, but it seems like now the Magic front office is bringing in, and they have brought in a lot of young players, and they finally are producing to that, Milwaukee teams that have been winning a lot of games, to the Oklahoma City teams that were all young, and they actually won a lot of games. Obviously, that's not the case now, but we are reliving the past 2010 teams with Milwaukee, who is still playing extremely well and still does have a good team. And they were built by the same guys that obviously have built the Magic.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to rebuild. Like it's to me, like honestly, to me, like
yeah,
Rob
but
Hennigan,
you're not a Rob Hennigan guy. Come on.
Well, I will say this. I think Rob Hennigan gets a little bit of a bad reputation.
Okay.
As he was always a good talent evaluator. He made really one big mistake in his whole conception of the team, and that was investing so much in Elfrid Payton. He went out. That was his guy. He went after him. It was the wrong pick. But look at the players that he drafted. Victor Oladipo was the second pick in the draft. He became a future All-Star. He acquired Tobias Harris in a trade. He's not like a superstar player, but he's been a solid player, near All-Star on several occasions. He drafted Aaron Gordon, who proved to be a key part of a championship team last year. He got Nikola Vucevic in the Dwight Howard trade, and everyone thought, oh, well, why didn't the Magic get Andrew Bynum? That was the future star that could anchor your team. That's what people said at the time. Yeah. Nikola Vucevic turned into a future All-Star. He's found good value. The problem with the Rob Hennigan era was they hired the wrong coach in Jacques Vaughn, and Jacques Vaughn's turned into a very good coach in Brooklyn. I think he learned a lot from the mistakes in Orlando, but he didn't hire a coach who understood what he was doing and understood how to build toward a long-term vision. Jacques Vaughn had 2 years as an assistant before he joined the Magic. It was a disaster. The other problem was the Magic never won the lottery, and they never found their star. They never found the kind of, every team needs a sun of their solar system. They need a guy that everyone rotates around. Orlando got that in drafting Franz Wagner, eighth pick in the draft in 2021, and got that again with the first pick in the draft in Paolo Banchero in 2022. That changed everything. That clarified and crystallized everything that Jeff Weltman was building, that this Magic team was building. And now it feels like, okay, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a role. We know where the bread is buttered. And yes, Paolo Banchero is struggling to start the season. Franz Wagner's had some ups and downs to start the season as well. But we can all clearly see, okay, if we build around these two guys, if we do everything we can to make these two guys the best versions of themselves they can be, there is a chance to do something really, really big and really, really great.
I hear you. I want to go into the last few questions. So, we've been talking about the Magic and how great they are in defense and praising a lot of players, Suggs, Anthony in general. And the list can go on with Isaac too, if you want to go down there. But regardless of that, the Magic offense is still not there. Again, it's only 4 games into the season as we're doing this show right now. But it's been against good teams where the Magic have to find out who the leader is. Is it Franz? Is it Paolo? Who's going to take the last shot? And they still haven't found that. And somebody needs to, whether it's coaching or player-wise, somebody needs to, take the bull by the horns and say, you're taking the last shot, or this person's taking, because we can't keep playing this game.
Yeah, and look, offense is a huge issue for this team. We saw they had played a close game against the Lakers on Monday. The Lakers had 5 guys with a foot in the paint. Like Paolo Banchero has been trying to get to the basket all season long. And look, he's trying to make the right plays. I think he's trying to play a little bit slower so he can make reads and he can make passes, and his assists are up early in the season. But he looks off, and the Magic cannot afford that. The Magic need Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner to be the leaders.
But why do they keep shooting threes? Like the last night was horrendous. Yeah, but last night was horrendous. It's definitely not their game.
I mean, it's not their game. But look, Tuesday against the Clippers, they only took 33s. That's low.
Yeah, but they made 7.
They made 7. But like, that's the thing. That's the thing.
That's horrendous.
You cannot. But the thing is, they weren't settling for threes. The problem was they couldn't make free throws. They missed 14
True,
free throws.
That's
they
fair. I agree with you
from the
there.
foul line. That's why they lost. That's one of the
fair.
reasons they lost the game. In this league, it is a make or miss league. And yes, the Magic are not going to have a high percentage of threes, but you need to take enough threes to keep defenses honest and make them guard you on the perimeter. I love Jalen Suggs. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he will shoot every three as if he made the last one. He does not care. I get frustrated when I see Paolo pass up an open 3 because he missed his last 3, or I see Wendell Carter pass up an open 3. I don't want Wendell Carter taking 4 or 5 threes a game. He should be at 2 or 3. Markelle Fultz is not even bothering to get out to the perimeter, get out beyond the 3-point line because he's not because he's not comfortable out there. And look, you got to still shoot confidently. And honestly, that's the biggest problem with the Magic offense right now is guys are afraid to shoot. That cannot happen. That's when you lose. That's when the defense gets you, because if the defense knows you're afraid to shoot, they're not even going to bother looking at you on the perimeter. They're going to stare at you and say, take it. I dare you to take it. You're going to get plenty of open shots. And the Magic got a lot of open shots in the loss. Clippers, maybe it was just a night where the Magic just didn't hit shots. That happens. Against the Lakers the night before, the Magic were 14 for 31 from 3. That was a big reason why they stayed in the game, even though the Lakers shot 50%. You're going to have ups and downs with 3-pointers, and this team's especially going to have ups and downs, but you can't be afraid to take shots. And that to me is the big thing right now.
Well, the free throw thing was an issue last year. That was a problem last year with the Magic.
They weren't, though. They shot like 76% on free throws. They were, if not in the top 10, near the top 10 in free throw percentage at a high volume. This year, they're missing free throws, which is inexcusable.
Yeah, well, they better get their act together.
Yeah, they got to. There's no.
I mean, this is a team that could make the playoffs this year. I want to go into that in just a second, but before we go into that, do you think that the Magic, with a lot of these good young pieces, are going to make a deal? I know it's early. I'm going to bring that out right away. That they make a deal at the trade deadline, because they do have those sizable contracts, as you spoke about earlier on in our conversation, and do have a lot of talent that a lot of teams may be wanting to start over because their season's over, but the Magic season is not.
I mean, I think the Magic will certainly be in the hunt to make a deal.
It's not going to be like last year.
Then. No. They're not going to be sellers at the deadline. Now, like Gary Harris, Joe Ingles are players that other contending teams might want. But the Magic are not, and look, the Magic probably will think about dealing them both so they could get Anthony Black and Jet Howard in. But Orlando's not going to make a move that is going to make them worse in the short term. They're done with that. So they are going to, I always tell people at the deadline, it's about buyers and sellers. Who is going out there looking to buy something? Who's out there looking to sell something? That's what creates traction at the deadline. Orlando, we'll see where they're at. And that's
Chum is going to be probably traded, I would think, because they didn't resign.
Who wants him? He's got no value. Like, I'm sorry. Like Gary Harris should have some value, but do the Magic really want to get rid of their best shooter in the middle of a playoff chase? Well, if Buddy Hield is the answer and the Magic are willing to pay whatever Buddy Hield's looking for in the offseason, maybe. If Portland's trying to sell Malcolm Brogdon, like Malcolm Brogdon shouldn't be in Portland. He should be on a playoff team. Maybe Malcolm Brogdon is the kind of shooter that the Magic want to play point for them. Markelle Fultz is a free agent this summer. He could have some value. It's way
Why
too early
is
to
Caleb
say.
Houston still on the team? I'm not a fan.
He's a second-year player. He's a good player.
Yeah,
he's
very mediocre.
He's 19 years. He's mediocre. He's also 19. He's the youngest player in his draft, and he's not playing. Like, it's not like he's earned a spot on the team. But you're right.
He's gotten the game last year quite a bit. I saw him last year. I 19. know it's
But like, to your
but,
point though, like I like Caleb Houston. I think that he has potential. I don't think they should be completely giving up on him. But to your point, if the Magic need the roster spot, Caleb Houston's expendable. If the Magic need the roster spot, Chuma Okeke is expendable. If the Magic need the roster spot,
Chuma Okeke's gone regardless next year.
He's got.
I mean, come on.
Sure. No, for sure, for sure. But like, they're not going to lose sleep if Caleb Houston, Bull was a sacrifice because they needed the roster spot. And Bull, like, for all the flaws he has, and there are numerous of them, Bull at least showed he could do something on an NBA court.
Yeah.
But the Magic said, we don't have the space to give him what he needs. We're going to let him go. We could use that roster spot better. And look, the Magic are reaching a point where they got to pick which young guys they're invested in and which ones they're not. They chose to invest in Cole Anthony. They'll probably choose to invest in Jalen Suggs. Does that mean Markelle Fultz is getting a new contract this summer? Does that mean, what's Gary Harris's future with Magic? I don't expect Gary Harris back next year.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, what can you get? Do you look to move him at the deadline and get something better in return? Joe Ingles is the same way. He's got a team option on next year. He signed a 2-year deal, team option for next year. There's a real chance that the Magic sign Joe Ingles, and whether it's working or not, they'll be like, we could use him, we could leverage him to get something better. So it's definitely already in mind of like, okay, what are the Magic going to do? But I don't think the Magic are going to do something necessarily to save this season. It's not about this season. It's about next year, the year after that, 3 years down the road when the team expects to be contending.
We're about to go to commercial, but I do want to just, push this out that I agree with you with the Gary Harris issue too, that he's not going to be coming back. But it is, if he doesn't come back, the Magic losing a guy that can shoot the ball pretty well.
Yeah. And a guy who does what they need him to do. Again, a guy, like we said with Bo Wagner, a guy who understands his role, doesn't do more than that.
So if he's going to leave, which I agree with you 100% that he is at the end of the year, they better get somebody at the deadline or next year that can shoot the damn ball. And that's where I remember you were praising Dickey about drafting him because the guy could really shoot the ball out of sight, out of mind. And obviously they didn't go in that direction. And it's just a reoccurring problem that's just being kicked down the road longer and longer. I know we have to go to commercial, so we're going to go to commercial. We'll be back in just a moment. Again, Locked On Magic on YouTube. So we are again back with Philip Rossman Reich. It is OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Locked On Magic on YouTube. Definitely check it out, whether you're a Magic fan or not. Even if you're not a Magic fan, you should be looking at the team that
jump on the bandwagon now.
I fumbled with what I was saying, but thanks for the pickup, Phil, with that. Hey, listen, if you're a fan of an opposing team, you should be watching Magic coverage and watching the Magic in general because they are an upcoming team that is going to be a force to be reckoning with in the next few years, if not even this year. But with that said, I want to continue with the last 3 questions of our interview here today with, again, Philip Rossman Reich, Locked On Magic on YouTube. What player do you believe is going to step up this year for the Magic this season, Phil?
It really, I hate to say this because we have 4 games of evidence to back me up on this. I think it's going to be Jalen Suggs. I think Jalen Suggs is going to be a little bit of a revelation. Again, just defensively with his effort, like he's essentially this team's Marcus Smart. He's a struggling shooter. He's gotten better. It's slow progress on the shot, but he's gotten better at it. But he's just all over the place on defense. And like I said, the Magic are essentially gambling that they can score enough to make their defense matter because Jalen Suggs just sets the tone so well for them defensively. He sets a level for them defensively that everyone just has to match. And you talk about guys who raise the energy. Jalen Suggs raises everyone's energy. It's been that way for 2 years, but he's always dealing with some injuries and his shooting was just something they couldn't overcome. Now that he's healthy, they're just saying, we want to be a defensive team. We want to be a top 10 defensive team. Jalen Suggs is our best ticket to that. Whatever he takes away from our offense, we'll figure it out because our defense can be just so good with him in there.
My last question is, and we're going to keep this on the record now when you say this, It's on the record. It's recorded. Buy or sell, the Magic make the playoffs this year.
Playoffs or play-in? Or do you make that distinction?
Well, all right. We'll either one.
I
We'll just
will.
say.
Look, I have the Magic ninth in the East. I think they will be in the play-in
Okay.
tournament. I think that they will be playing meaningful basketball in March and April, which is goal number one. I've been telling people my goal for this team is to play game 83. Like they need to play beyond the end of the regular season in game 82. And I think that goal is very achievable. The East is tough. The East is much better in the middle than it's been in previous years. There are, probably 13 teams, I think, sitting here today believe they have a real shot at making at least the play-in tournament in the playoffs. The Magic last year were the last team eliminated from the postseason. If everyone gets better, which you expect young players to do, and that's maybe that's happening, maybe that's not through these first four games. The Magic are more than capable, and I expect them to make the play-in tournament, and I suspect that they will. So I will buy that they're going to be playing postseason basketball this year.
Very good. I agree too. I think this is the year. If not this year, then when? I think this is the year they have to make at least that play-in game. For sure, 100%. Last question: what's up next for you? Obviously, you're going to you're going to keep doing Locked On Magic, Monday through Friday again. So almost 365, but not quite.
Almost.
Close but no cigar. But regardless of that, what's up next besides that for you? I know you write for OrlandoMagicDaily.com too. Definitely people should check that out. But besides those two shows and journalism in general.
Yeah, no, that's the best place to reach me if you want to watch podcasts. Locked On Magic is your go-to place for Orlando Magic content or for Orlando Magic podcasting content. Orlando Magic Daily is I'm the site expert and editor over there, so that's where you go if you want any of my written work. If you're a real big Magic fan, you're looking to get to the next level. I have a Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub. Go to patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I am putting extra content on there to kind of feed whatever you're looking for from the Orlando Magic. Every little detail that I can find goes up on there, including some video breakdowns and all that stuff. And you can also find me doing watch-alongs on PSF, on the PSF app as well. So you can check that.
What
out
is the PSF app for people that don't know?
PSF is this new app. It's kind of been spearheaded by Sean Salisbury. You may remember him from ESPN.
Yeah, sure.
It's essentially just like big chat rooms for fans of their teams. And the kind of feature of the site is you get like Manning cast style watch-alongs with personalities like myself. So, during a Magic road game, because I'm at almost every home game, during Magic road games, you'll select Magic road games. It's not everyone at this point, but you'll be able to kind of be, there'll be a camera trained on me. You can put questions in the chat room. I'll answer questions and I'll provide like my live commentary and thoughts on the game as they're happening. And you get to kind of like have a communal experience with in watching a game. So
this is only certain games, Phil, or all the games.
They're still building out their roster, and like I'm at home games, so I can't do it during home games. It's still a little bit of an experiment, but I'll be doing it for Thursday's game against the Jazz. So you'll be able to hang out with me during that game.
Yeah, I saw you say that today on your show. So again, people should check Locked On Magic, patreon.com, Orlando Magic Hub. Also check OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I think I got pretty much everything as far as that goes, and we'll call it quits for today. Phil, it's always a pleasure to have you on. I look forward to talking Orlando Magic basketball, hopefully deep into maybe even June. I mean, that's probably wishful thinking, but we'll try to be positive. And
an 8 seed made the finals last year. A 7 seed made the conference finals. Don't tell me not to believe.
Well, we believe in Magic. That was a big thing. I actually
still is.
Back in, if you were, I don't know how old you are, but back in, I think it was in like 99, they had a We Believe in Magic. It was Bell South. You could put it on your window. I had that on my window for years upon years on end.
I gifted that to my first grade teacher. To my first grade teacher. She had it on her window for like 10 years until she retired.
Very, very nice. Well, listen, the Magic could do. Hopefully we'll get to the playoffs as Phil stated. And, then the wind will blow where may blow, and we'll see what happens. But Phil,
Long way
Phil
to go.
Rossman Reich, thanks so much. I appreciate you as always.
Thanks for having me on.